All right, we are back with another Pick'em video. It is Tuesday, January 21st. We have a 5-game slate in the NBA, so not the biggest slate in the world, not the smallest slate in the world, but definitely some value out there. So we're going to talk about some player props in this one that I'm liking. Going to break down the matchups, defensive schemes that they might be seeing, maybe certain guys in good rebounding spots. We'll also talk about injuries and any sort of implications that way. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing for this one. So if that sounds interesting, if you're new around here, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Leave the video a like, comment something down below. It's going to tell YouTube to push this video out a little bit more when you guys do that. So I appreciate any of the comments and things like that, even when they're negative. We got some weird comments yesterday, people saying, oh, we saw Mark Williams sold. Dude, he literally hit, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, we're going to go over the recap of yesterday's video. Then we'll go into the injury news, any teams on a back-to-back I also like to mention, and then we'll get into some plays, some deep dives. All right, so quickly going over the recap of Monday's picks. That was yesterday's video. We had 4 green check marks. We had 3 red X's, kind of a mediocre day overall. We did have a blowout situation, kind of ruined a couple of our plays, I think. So good reads overall. We'll go over them real quick. Mark Williams over 13.5 rebounds and assists. He ended with 15. That was the weird comment I got. This guy was like, oh, excited to tell you, new to the channel, blah, blah, and then end up commenting later, first guy already sold, blah, like all this negativity. First of all, you're basing it off one pick, that somehow I'm some bad, YouTube picks guy. Second of all, the guy literally hit, so some more on in the comments. Walker Kessler over 25.5 PRA. He hit easily. That was an overtime loss. They were up like 30 points, and then CJ McCollum decided to go nuclear, dropping 45 points, and they ended up winning that game that they probably should have won because the Jazz were running out a G League team practically. But yeah, Kessler did his job, easily cashing his PRA. Donovan Mitchell over his 30.5 points in rebounds. He had 33 points alone. Didn't even need the rebounds. I think he had like 5 of them or something, but great read there. And that was the 30-point blowout. He didn't play a ton of time, and good read there. But I'll jump to Darius Garland here as well. Told you not to play him in the same slip just because it's kind of counterintuitive and it kind of hedges from this situation exactly. He only played 25 minutes, ended with 25 PRA, so didn't get there ultimately. But again, only 25 minutes. So you can expect more from a guy like Darius Garland if they don't win the game by 26 points. And it was the Suns. The Cavs are missing Evan Mobley. Thought it would be a little bit closer. It's hard to predict a blowout situation. You're not going to be making picks based on blowout situations unless it's some huge spread, and then unders on certain teams could be a good look. But wasn't expecting it there. Tim Hardaway Jr. was another under we had, or the only under we had. 12.5 points. He stayed under pretty easily. He had 10. He did have 6 at halftime. So he looked like he was kind of on track to be kind of sweaty there. But the 6th point came with like 1 second left. He hit like a 3 right at the buzzer practically. So that was a little frustrating, but he stayed under pretty consistently the whole game. Wasn't too sweaty. Nick Richards was maybe a bad read of today. Only played 22 minutes. That was in that 26-point blowout. So expecting more from him, a guy that just got traded to the Suns. He played 29 minutes in his debut, and he had a really good spot here. We talked about him seeing at least 25 minutes. He had been crushing this line historically, but didn't do much of anything. 4 points, 4 rebounds, so maybe a bad read there. But again, blowout situation doesn't help. And then Jalen Green was a lean over 2.5 three-pointers made. Minus 160, I thought it was going to be a nice parlay piece. He shot 2 of 8 from 3, so the volume was there, just couldn't knock him down. Jalen Green had to cool off sometime. We were kind of riding the hot hand with that one, but ultimately he came up short there. So again, 4 green check marks, 3 red X's. We'll take the profit or the higher hit rate than 50% any day of the week, and always trying to do better. And again, it's ultimately up to you guys if you want to take these. I'm just here with a microphone pointing out plays that I think are guys that are in good spots. If you don't agree with me, absolutely don't take them. If you do agree with me, that's usually a good sign that we're making a good play, an educated play. All right, so jumping into some lineup news for today's games. I always like to start the video off with this, just gets my brain going, but also just points out any sort of people that you might not be on your radar that you're like, oh, I didn't know he was game time decision, or I didn't know he was out, and also back-to-back situations. So the only team on a back-to-back is the New York Knicks. Potentially might see Karl-Anthony Towns and Josh Hart pop up on the injury report. Really, anyone can hop up in the injury report on a back-to-back situation if there's some sort of lingering illness or injury. And again, Towns and Hart were both game-time decisions for yesterday's game. So just got something to think about. As of right now, the only guy on the injury report is Mitchell Robinson that we'll have to worry about. He hasn't played all year anyway. Going into the first game, it's Trailblazers and the Nets. For the Trailblazers, Anthony Simons is going to be a game-time decision. That's big. Rob Williams will be a game-time decision. That's kind of big for a guy like Ayton. Klingan will be continuing to be out. Chris Murray's also a game-time decision. Yes, he's the guy that gets a decent amount of minutes on this team. And then Matisse Thybulle will be out for this one. For the Heat, just Josh Richardson, who's missed a whole bunch of time this year anyway. For the Knicks, again, we talked about Mitchell Robinson. He's the only guy pretty much that matters on the injury report as of right now, but keep an eye on that. For the Nets, Ben Simmons is probable. That's big news. D'Angelo Russell is a game-time decision. That's definitely something to think about. Cam Thomas continues to be out for tomorrow's game. Bogdanovich continues to be out. Zara Williams is going to be out for tomorrow's game. He's a guy that's been getting a decent amount of minutes, so could be a good bump for some other dudes. And then Trenton Watford also out for them. Moving along to the Raptors and the Magic here. Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, they've been out for a while. Tate's now missed a bunch of games in a row. These guys are all out. Gary Harris could be returning tomorrow, so definitely something to think about. Not going to get a ton of minutes, I would assume, but maybe a guy that gets 10, 15 minutes. Jet Howard, also a game time decision. For the Raptors, Emmanuel Quickley out. That's the biggest news there. Boucher is going to be a game time decision. Then Agbaji is also going to be out. So definitely some guys getting boosts in terms of minutes and usage. RJ Barrett, assists definitely go up without Quickley, so something to think about. 76ers, Embiid will be out. Game time decisions for Paul George and Andre Drummond. Yabusele getting a probable tag right now, and then Lowry and the two Martins are going to be out. So we've seen this team be injured a whole bunch. It's going to probably be the Tyrese Maxey show once again. Could have a good matchup here against the Nuggets as well, who will probably be fully healthy with Jamal Murray and Peyton Watson getting probable tags. Lastly, the Wizards and the Nuggets, or not the Wizards, the Nuggets, Wizards and the Lakers. We got Brogdon out, Sadiq Bey out, Bagley out. We've seen this a whole bunch this year. And then for the Lakers, LeBron getting that probable tag. He will most likely play. Anthony Davis, a true game time decision, but probably will play too. And then for the other guys, Wood and Vanderbilt, the guys that mostly matter here, are also going to be out. They've missed a whole bunch of time as well. So that is the injury report for tomorrow's games. Again, back-to-back set is going to be the New York Knicks. Let me know in the comments if you enjoy the injury report. I know it takes a little bit longer to actually get into the plays, which I think is the best value in this video anyway. But I've got some comments that say, I love the injury report. I haven't gotten any negative comments about it, but just always curious to see what you guys enjoy the best. I don't want to be rambling about injuries. If it doesn't help you, if you guys are skipping it and things like that, it's not going to hurt my feelings if you let me know in the comments like, hey, I could probably do without the injury report, or hey, I love the injury report. I don't see a lot of people doing this on daily pick videos. So let me know in the comments. That just helps me out. Help me help you guys when making these videos. So yeah, let's actually get in some plays. And then I might as well just point out the fact that this is the website that I use to get all the information. So if you want access to that, the link's in the description down below. They have all the information right there for you. All right, so the first play of the video is going to be Tyler Hero under 5.5 rebounds going up against the Portland Trailblazers. Now, he's under in 57% of games this year. There's plenty of different reasons I like this one. I do want to point out he gets 5 and 6 rebounds a whole bunch of times, so just be ready for this one to kind of be sweaty. If he does go over, I expect him to get 6, but I do like a lot of his potential to go under here. So the first thing first is Portland's rebounding defense. They allow a decent amount of rebounds, but he stayed under against this team earlier in the year. This was actually about 10 days ago, and that's because it was a 20-point blowout. So this was a minus 10 spread. Jimmy Butler's back. Hopefully they get some sort of similar result, and he doesn't have to play 37, 38 minutes, and we'll see more like a 32 minutes. That's something I'll talk about in a little bit here. But let's go into games that we've seen Jimmy Butler play and Bam Adebayo play next to Tyler Hero. So Bam games active, and we want Jimmy active. This turns into a 63% hit rate, so a little bit better there. And again, you can see then the minutes per game still around 35%. The thing that I want to point out next is the fact that, again, it is a 10.5 point spread. In games they've won by 10.5 points, so I guess they'll do 10 points plus. He's still under in 58% of those games, and you can see his minutes dropped to 32.2. So if this is some sort of blowout situation, the Portland Trailblazers are definitely dealing with some injuries. Hopefully the minutes are a little bit lower than his normal minutes. So then taking those minutes into consideration here, we can start toggling his hit rates in terms of the minutes played per game. Again, 10.5 point spread, games they've won by 10 plus points, he's averaging 32 minutes. So as this number gets down lower and lower and lower, and if the Miami Heat do take care of business, you can see the hit rate gets better and better. Here's 35 or less minutes, even get to 33 minutes or less, 80% hit rate. So it's those extra minutes that Tyler Hero is really getting these extra rebounds, and his rebound chances aren't very high either. I actually looked at games where Bam and Jimmy Butler are active. These are just all games, close games, not close games, anything, and he's averaging 8.9 rebound chances. And I did my little write-up and got some more information on that. In games that he's seen 8 or 10 or less, 10 or fewer rebound chances, he's under in 21 of 26 games. So everything's starting to compound. If this is some sort of blowout with Jimmy in the lineup, all these things are looking really, really good in terms of the under. And then I also did the extra step here, looked at some similar players that had very similar lines. A lot of these guys also had 5.5 rebounds line. Levine had 4 against Portland. Harden had 2 rebounds against Portland. Hero himself obviously had those 5 rebounds against Portland a few days ago. DeJounte Murray had 3 against Portland. And then Kyrie Irving had 2 rebounds and 3 rebounds on different occasions against Portland. So I'm seeing a lot of different stuff that's really pointing towards the under here, and I think this one for Tyler Hero is looking pretty good. And then the opposite side of that, if you don't love taking an under and maybe you think this game is going to be closer and things like that, Bam Adebayo over his 8.5 rebounds. I think you can get this for plus money almost, or at least like minus 105 in a lot of places right now. He could be definitely look for the over here. Now, all those things I just said about Portland, Portland gives up a decent amount of rebounds, so this is a good thing for an over for someone like Bam. He's over in 65% of games. In games with Jimmy Butler, it actually gets better, 75% hit rate within games with Jimmy Butler. And he's also rebounded well against this team, even though it was a 20-point blowout last time. He had 11 rebounds against them. So again, I don't know if you play that in the same type of slip, because you're kind of like hoping for a blowout with the Tyler Hero line. You don't need it, but you're kind of hoping for one. And then similarly with Bam, you're kind of hoping it stays close and he gets a whole bunch of minutes. So if you don't want to play him in the same slip, I understand that, but it's definitely something to look at that, Bam is in a good spot to go over his rebounds, and I think Hero's in a good spot to go under his rebounds. Yeah, as of right now, it looks like all the books have this up at 8.5, favoring the under. So I would not take this on a DFS platform, like a parlay platform, like PrizePicks, Underdog, Betr, or Dabble, but taking this straight on like minus 105 for DraftKings or minus 105 for ESPN Bet, that's pretty good value right there. I'm seeing at least. This could switch throughout the day, and then it could be takeable on a DFS platform. I'm never going to tell you to take a bad EV play on a DFS platform, but taking a minus 105 value on this over, looking pretty good in terms of like a lean. This would be a solid lean for us. I also added a little bit more information here, looked a little bit deeper. Obviously, Portland ranks 26th in terms of rebounding specifically to centers, so I guess I didn't mention that earlier. And then also we've seen Vucevic, Jalen Duren, Embiid, and Bam himself all go over their rebounds lines just in the recent weeks against Portland. So again, I don't know if I'd play it in the same slip as Tyler Hero. It kind of makes sense taking Hero's under and taking Bam's over if you think about it. But at the same time, if this is a blowout, that's great for the Hero line, not so great for the Bam line, even though he did do it against Portland. So I guess a solid lean here for Bam over his 8.5 rebounds. All right, moving along to the next play here. And as I kind of go through the plays, there's a bunch of plays that I definitely like, but the blowout situation is going to be the problem here. 4 of the 5 games tomorrow are 10.5 point spreads or more. So just keep that in mind when taking bets today. Maybe a lighter day. This is looking like the best game of the night with a 2-point spread, but definitely some blowout potential in the games tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. But with that said, I still love AD here at 39.5 points and rebounds. He has a textbook matchup. Everyone has a textbook matchup against the Washington Wizards, but dominant centers have destroyed Washington down low. We're going to take a look at that in a second. Also, I have to mention here, AD is a game time decision. If he doesn't play and we bet on him now for this, maybe that's why his lines are a little bit lower. If he doesn't play, that's no harm, no foul. It's just going to be called a push or not counted, refunded, whatever it might be. But if he does play, he's in a really good spot here. So first of all, let's just look at his hit rates. 57% of games he has gone over this. A lot more at the beginning of the season than recently, I will say that. But again, the matchup here is just so perfect for him to dominate. And I want to point out 57% hit rate this season, 47% last season, and he did face the Wizards last season twice, hasn't played them just yet this year, and he went for 40 and 15 and 35 and 18 against them. So pretty good history against this weak team that looks like they should be in the G League. And now let's start messing around with the toggle here. So this is games they've won by any amount of points. He's over in 65% of games, so it gets a little bit better. He's obviously a big part of their wins, but I do want to point out, I'm not hiding anything from you guys, if they start winning by a little bit more, 10-plus point victories here, he's over in 3 of 6 games, and if he wins by the spread, he's only over in 1 of 4 games. So definitely something to monitor. I think he's going to be able to do a ton of damage early, again, if he does play, just because of how comparable centers have done against this team, and also just how weak they are defensively and how he gets his points. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. So let's start getting into the nitty-gritty here. I started typing it out over here, so you can kind of read along with me. He scores 48% of his points as the pick and roll big man, which Washington ranks 29th defensively. He gets a bunch of his points from free throws as well, 29th in terms of free throws allowed, and then post-ups 26th defensively for the Wizards. So that's awesome. That goes hand in hand with his 40-piece and 35-point games against them last year, which they were also horrible. Comparable centers, like I mentioned a little bit ago. Sabonis, 29 points on a 19.5 line. Sengunas played him twice. He had 26 and 27 on a 19.5 and a 21.5 line. Jokic dropped 56 on the Wizards on a 32.5 line, and Bam scored 32 on a 17.5 line. That was just to name a few. I could have kept going. Rebounding, I'm adding the rebounding here because it's not just the scoring, they've dominated on the boards as well. So let's take a look at these guys. Sabonis had 18 on a 15.5 line. Vucevic had 13 and 14 on 10.5 lines. Jokic had 16 on a 13.5 line. And then literally 3 days ago, we saw Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney. Yes, those two combined for 28 rebounds against the Wizards. So this is looking, really, really good. Again, Anthony Davis might not play a ton of minutes if this turns into a blowout. It might not. If it's a 10-point game in the fourth quarter, he's still going to be out there, again, if he plays. So I just had to point this one out just because it's too good to be, passing up on. I would roll the dice even if he, potentially doesn't play in this one. It's just too good to be true. My PrizePicks people, my Underdog people, you can be looking at first half plays as well for AD because this one's looking awesome. So AD over 39.5 points and rebounds going up against the lowly Wizards down in Washington. I think he's going to dominate. All right, moving along to the next play here, it's going to be Paolo Banchero over his 23.5 points facing the Toronto Raptors, who have a lot of holes in their defense for a guy like Paolo. We're going to talk about those numbers in a second, but the main thing here, a lot of points to be had against Toronto. Let's look at his points first. I did think about adding his assists, so points and assists is something you can look at as well. It was at 28.5 when I was looking at it. I think his assist line is at 4.5, probably pretty juiced on the over. Those are definitely decent looks because if they start swarming Paolo and they do start slowing him down in terms of the scoring, he could definitely get some dimes because they're a weak spot up shooting defensive team. So we could see some guys knock some shots down from Paolo setting them up. So points and assists, points, assists, I like all of that for Paolo today. Now let's take a look at his chart, which doesn't look great, but I want to break it down for us. If you don't know, Paolo started off the year off really hot. Did have some two duds here in the beginning of the year that I kind of forget about, but people were talking about this guy in like the MVP conversation. He scored 33 in the debut, then had 2 duds, but then had a 50 piece and then a 30 piece, and then he got hurt. He tore his oblique, missed a whole bunch of time, and returned to January 10th. When he returned against Milwaukee, it was an awesome game, 3-point loss for them, but he shot really well in that game. He played really well in that game, even though he was on the minutes restriction. You see 26 minutes, and it hasn't been too much more than that since he's returned. That's something I'll talk about in a second here, but he scored 34 points, didn't look like he missed a beat. Then Orlando wins against Philadelphia. He only scores 20 points in that one, but he only shot 8 times in that one as well. So he was definitely doing other things well, getting to the rack, definitely getting to the free throw line. You can see 11 attempts at the free throw line. So he looked like he was never missing a beat, so coming back from a long-term injury. Then he gets Milwaukee and Boston. He scores 22 and 21. Why was he so low there? Well, they lost by 30 points, so it's tough to get over your lines when you're losing by 30 points, and he still got 22 and 21. Then he has a weird game against Denver. Not a horrible matchup for him, but he shot 4 of 16. So kind of all these games, I can kind of think about why it happened that he didn't score it. Only shot 8 against Philadelphia. Then he loses by 30 to Milwaukee and Boston. Then he has a 4 of 16 shooting night against Denver. So yes, he's been missing, but there's kind of been reasons for why he's been missing. Now he gets Toronto. They're 2-point favorites. This one should hopefully be close. Again, that's always a question mark in the NBA, but it should be close in terms of what the books are saying, and he gets a perfect matchup for him. So I'm going to start looking into the other stuff that I looked into for this in terms of matchup-wise. He is going up against a team that allows the 30th ranked defensively in terms of free throws. He gets 21% of his points from the free throw line, and then 71% of his shots, not points, but shots, come from the restricted area and above the break threes. So 41% of his shots from the restricted area. Toronto ranks 24th in that regard. And then above the break threes, 30% of his shots come from. Toronto ranks 23rd. So really, really good matchup for him to take advantage of in terms of their defensive rankings. So I really like this spot for a guy like Paolo to kind of have a bounce back spot from a bad shooting night, 2 horrible losses. He's kind of getting his feet underneath them. And I do think that minutes restriction is eventually going to start coming up and up. We can kind of see it coming up, 1 minute here, 1 minute there. But we could see him break 30 minutes and maybe they totally lift it, tomorrow at some point or down the line. I think it's going to start coming up. So putting in the minutes thoughts, putting into the idea that these outlier games are kind of drawing his line down, and he's got a perfect matchup for him today. I think this is the game he's going to go over against Toronto. So yeah, it sucks that he hasn't hit in 4 games in a row, but again, with this matchup, with the fact that the minutes limits should start creeping up and up, and also the fact that the last 4 games were kind of outliers in terms of blowouts, in terms of horrible shooting that doesn't really happen, games they didn't shoot a ton, he should just get his footing right, and I think that this is a perfect one for him to do so. So if you made it this far into the video, I would definitely appreciate if you like the video. Subscribe if you are new for sure, if you like this content, and also leave a comment down below if you have an extra second or two. It just tells YouTube to push this video out a little bit more, and it just helps this community grow, so I always appreciate that. Also, if you're interested in getting access to my Discord community where we always talking sports, talking props, talking different plays, we're not robots. We have a lot of laughs and things like that. We watch the games, people are commenting, all those different types of things. The link's in the description down below for this video. You can just join, but there's plenty of different ways to get in for free. If you sign up using my codes to any of my partner programs like PrizePicks, Underdog, Betr, Sleeper, Dabble, Flip, Parlay Play, or Chalkboard. If you're not on any of these platforms, I highly recommend checking them out. I post plays in each of these pretty much every day, at least one slip in each of these, so you can always go ahead and tail those. But also, you're going to get a deposit match of some sort or some sort of promotion using my code. Like for PrizePicks, all you do is use my code, bet $5. They're going to give you $50. Betr, Sleeper's doing a similar thing. Bet $5, get $55. Underdog is betting or is matching your deposit up to $1,000, I believe, in terms of bonus bets. So a lot of these ones are very good. Dabble is doing last 7 days, so this expires in 7 days. But if you use my code for Dabble, they just load your account up with $25. You don't even have to make a deposit. So it's a great way to get in for free. Just check out the links in the description down below. It will describe how to do it. And yeah, we have a whole bunch of other stuff in here. There's chats, there's injury news. We do some polls in here. Of course, you get access to all my plays. People share their other plays. We got some seasoned chefs in here that know what they're doing as well, so they share plays as well. And you can share plays and bounce ideas off each other. So it's a lot of fun. Definitely check out the links down below. And again, that's how you get access to all my plays. I'm definitely gonna be looking at some unders as I research tomorrow, just because of all the blowout potential. So I kind of wish I started there. But these guys that I'm pointing to today are definitely in really good spots. So I do have one more lean I want to talk about, but I do appreciate anyone that uses my codes for the tools as well. There's a free trial for Outlier, which is the tool right here. OddsJam lets us see all the different values of the sports book. So for right here, Paolo Banchero, looks like a lot of books have bumped this now to 24.5. I put this in at 23.5 on DraftKings. It was actually at -120 when I did that. So that's a big perk for OddsJam. And there's plenty of other platforms like the RotoWire projection model and things like that. So again, sorry for the plugs, but I appreciate you guys doing that. It's always a nice kickback my way, but I give it right back to you in terms of a free month. And I'm just trying to grow this community. So yeah, check us out. And then moving into the last play here, the one I want to talk about is going to be Nikola Jokic over 35.5 points and assists. It sounds too low for what he's been doing this season, and I think it's too low because he hasn't been scoring the last 4 games very much at all. I just think he's going to be too big for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think he's going to score at ease. They're not a very good restricted area defense, and I think he's just going to get some bunnies, easy bunnies all day long over like Andre Drummond or whoever they end up starting at center if Andre Drummond doesn't play. So obviously, Joel Embiid's out of this game. We don't have to worry about him, but Andre Drummond is a game-time decision. He may or may not play. Even if he does play, though, he's a bigger body, but he's not very good defensively, so I think Jokic could absolutely pick him apart. So 75% hit rate for the entire year is absolutely ridiculous. Again, hasn't hit in 4 straight games, but he hasn't been scoring. He's still been assisting, like 10 assists most of those games, but he hasn't been scoring much. The reason I like this, though, is because of the matchup. So going into my little write-up here, I talked about the restricted area defense. I want to say Philly is a solid post-up defensive team for some reason, but they do get killed in the restricted area, and that's where Jokic gets a lot of his points. So they are 26 defensively, Philadelphia, in terms of defending the restricted area. In games that he's played against bottom half of the league teams, so not even like the bottom 5 teams, bottom 10 teams, bottom 15 teams, he's over this in 14 of 17 games, going for 82% hit rate, and he's just been dominating, 43.4 points and assists average against those teams. So bottom half of the league, restricted area defense, Jokic seems to absolutely dominate. They're ranked 26 defensively, Philadelphia is. The 3 misses also, looking a little bit deeper into that, that was 2 against the Mavericks, who are 15th ranked in terms of restricted area defense, so they're kind of on the fringe there of the bottom half of the league. And then also the Knicks, who are 16th ranked, and there was also a 27-point blowout. One of the Mavericks games was also a 19-point blowout. So there was kind of some caveats in those 2 games that he didn't get there. Jokic also generates 12% of his points in scoring and pick and roll big man. That's not a whole bunch, but it's definitely something to note that they get cooked in terms of pick and roll big man, which him and Jamal Murray do all the time. And they're ranked 27th defensively in that regard too. So without Embiid there, maybe no Drummond, but even if Drummond's there, I think he's just going to be too big, too good in the paint. And we haven't seen one of those scoring, big scoring games from Jokic in a while. And I think tonight could be the night there. All right, so going into the recap of what we talked about in this video, we deep dove into all these different plays. I'm kind of indifferent on my leans. You can see I put Bam and Jokic as the 2 leans, and then these 3 as like the main bets of the video. But there's a lot of blowout situations or scenarios that could happen tomorrow. So I'm definitely gonna be looking at some more unders when I do research tomorrow. But yeah, I'm loving all these. We broke it all down and why, but just keep that in mind. Blowouts can ruin a good play, whether it's a bad read or a good read, whatever it might be. If you lose by 30 points and you play 25 minutes as opposed to 35, that can change things. But these are the plays I'm liking. Tyler Hero under 5.5 rebounds. Paolo Banchero over 23.5 points or over his points and assists. I like that as well. Anthony Davis over 39.5 points and rebounds. He is a game-time decision. I hope he plays so he can dominate the Wizards down low. Then Bam Adebayo over his 8.5 rebounds. I probably wouldn't play these in the same slip just because any sort of blowout situation helps the Tyler Hero line but doesn't help the Bam line and vice versa. But I do like both of their spots, and they both did hit against the Trailblazers last time they met 10 days ago. And then Nikola Jokic over 35.5 points and assists. Those are the plays of the day. So that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, leave the video a like, comment something down below, and again, subscribe if you are new, and then check out the links in the description of the video for any of the tools I was using, any sort of deposit matches on platforms that might want to check out and get free months to the Discord community. All those things are a great way to support the channel as we continue to grow over here. So good luck with all your bets. Watch out for blowouts tomorrow, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.